Frank Slade. And together, this aircrew distinguished themselves by staying together and surviving against all odds in their Lancaster aircraft N4 nuts. You will have to read for yourselves Basil's exploits and anecdotes as a Pathfinder member. I was fortunate to have his logbook, which provides details of every flight or sortie, as they were called. And so there's a lot of information also from other accounts, other books that I had access to. My daughter Lindsay, in fact, told me that whilst reading that chapter, she was on tender hooks, even though she knew that her grandfather had survived or she herself would not exist. In April 1944, Basil was awarded the Distinguished Flying Medal, the DFM, and he was described in the recommendation for that medal as being cool and unruffled under fire, and having consistent skill and reliability under harassing circumstances, with a high sense of devotion to duty. He was only one of two Bahamians to be decorated in World War II, the other being Lester Brown, who received the Distinguished Flying Cross, of the approximately 300 Bahamians who participated. Some here at the base never, went to Britain, and some in Britain. I think the majority, and perhaps that'll be another project to identify those 300 people and see who were on the base here and who went to England and so on. Because of the dangerous nature of their flying, the Pathfinder Force became an elite group. They were distinguished by a badge and eagle wings, which they wore on their uniform. And generally, it's reported that whenever they entered a room at a pub or a public place, a hush would fall over the room, acknowledging the awe and respect that they received for their courageous and dangerous flights. Basil also had the distinct privilege of carrying the Bahamian flag for the full 3 hours as the sole representative from the Bahamas at the historic Victory Day Parade in London in June 1945. And he wrote quite a long account about his experience for the local newspapers, and I've included that in the book as well. Basil, again, in his determination not to return home without furthering his education, went to Lincoln to study engineering. That was where the engines for the electricity corporation were manufactured. In 1948, he married Eunice Walsh of Bolton, and in 1945, the couple returned home via Jamaica to begin their life together as the toast of the town. Part 2 covers the years 1949 to 1999, which is a 50-year span. It describes Basil's return to the electricity department and his establishment of the Electrical Workers Association. Union at the time was a negative term. And he wanted to better the working conditions of the employees. He himself experienced challenges returning home with further education and training and moving into positions not previously occupied by non-whites. He noted that after his promotion to grade 1 engineer in July of 1952, from that time, black Bahamians in the electrical department were given promotions with no hassle. And I interestingly included the terms and conditions of employment at that time, which makes for interesting reading. The employee really had no say in his employment. One of Basil's proudest achievements as president of the association was in 1953 under Governor Robert Neville, when there was the reduction of the shift workers' hours from 56 hours to 44 for white collar and 46 to 48 for blue collar with a true day off. Basil himself was a shift worker at a certain point in his career, and they didn't really have a day off. You know, they'd work a shift and go home and then be expected to be up at 8 o'clock the next morning to go back to work. And he worked at it until he achieved that goal. And in 1956, he stopped the rather undignified Christmas practice of giving the employees ice and a bottle of rum and instituted the first employees' Christmas party at the Gym Tennis Club on Mackey Street. Through the association, Basil also played a pivotal role in the 58 general strike, clashing with Randolph Forks. Basil believed in negotiations, reasoning, and being a man of one's word. He was deliberate and bold, but not hot-headed, and was respected by his superiors. He referred to himself as a moderating influence in the strike, and he was proud that his achievement was that he was able to get all of the striking men of the electricity department rehired, even though the board wanted to just fire them all. He persuaded them to rehire them without the loss of their benefits, and he was the only union leader that was able to accomplish that. I've also included quite a lot of background history on the Royal British Legion, which was to become Basil's life's work. He became the president in 1966 and remained there until 2002 when he could no longer do. And he chaired the Poppy Day Appeal every year from 1946, again until 2002. Basil was, and I should say that he was assisted in his Poppy Day Appeal by the ladies of the IODE, the Imperial Order of the Daughters of the Empire, and this was originally their building. They donated it to the Historical Society, I think, when they realized that their time and relevance had passed. And in fact, in World War II, I understand that this was the scene of a lot of dances and entertainment for the troops that were stationed at the Oaksfield base. But Basil was always concerned about the welfare of others, and he took on the plight of the war veterans against an unconcerned government. And I've documented correspondence, events, and Basil's recorded dismay, disgust, and disappointment with the harsh treatment and responses by the government towards war veterans. My family's progress is also recorded, beginning with Basil and Eunice's purchase of the beautiful 39-acre hilly Johnny Hill property off Carmichael Road from the Arana family in 1949. His lifetime romance with the soil and growing fruits and vegetables also spanned that time. But he also returned to England again to further his education and training as he advanced up the Electricity Corporation ladder and to visit family and wartime friends with whom he kept in contact all of his life. And of course, in that 50-year span, our country went from colony to semi-independence, to independence in 1973, followed by the years of the drug trafficking scourge, the law of the sea territorial waters, negotiations and disputes with poachers from Florida and Cuba, culminating in the HMBS Flamingo incident, the Robert Vesco, the Shah of Iran, Howard Hughes, commissions of inquiry, and the changing political landscape. Remember all that stuff? Yeah. In 1980, Basil, at 60, retired from the EC and spent more time on his farming, merchant, and Legion activities, including traveling. In 1992, he started attending the Pathfinder